We often look at a very famous author and playwright, William Shakespeare. This is one of the most well-known stories, Romeo and Juliet. And in this segment, we're just going to have a look at what the story of Romeo and Juliet actually was, as written by William Shakespeare. Obviously, I'm not going to go through the whole thing and read it because it takes a very long time, but this is just a short recap of what happens in the story. So this is Romeo and Juliet, a tragedy by William Shakespeare. We have arrived at our destination, Verona, Italy, in the 1300s. Who will we meet in this? Well, there's obviously Romeo and Juliet, two principal characters, but there's also the Capulet family and the Montague family, two families who are rivals against each other. We'll also meet Tybalt, Mercutio, Juliet's nurse, Friar Lawrence, Prince Aeschylus, Benvolio, and Paris. There is a terrible feud between the families of the Capulets and the Montagues. After yet another fight, Prince Aeschylus says, "The next person to fight will be put to death." Romeo is a Montague, and he is with his cousin Benvolio. Romeo's a bit miserable because he likes a girl, Rosaline, but she doesn't like him. Now we meet Juliet, who's a Capulet. A man called Paris wants to marry her. She's only 14, so her father asked Paris to wait 2 years. Juliet's father arranges a masked ball, inviting lots of people whilst hoping that Paris will win Juliet's heart. Romeo and Benvolio see the Capulet servant handing out the party invitations. Benvolio thinks they should both go. Romeo agrees as he sees Rosaline's name on the list. Meanwhile, Juliet also agrees to go, and whilst at the masked ball, she will try to see if she might be able to fall in love with Paris. The party begins at the Capulet's house. Romeo arrives with Benvolio and their witty friend Mercutio. When they are inside, Romeo sees Juliet for the first time and instantly falls in love with her, forgetting about Rosaline. Tybalt, another Capulet, recognizes Romeo and is angry. He's angry that the Montagues have gate-crashed a Capulet party. Tybalt nearly starts a fight, but Juliet's father stops him. See, there's not much love between the Capulets and the Montagues. Soon Romeo speaks to Juliet and they both feel the chemistry. They kiss, not knowing they are from rival families. When they find out their families are enemies, they are both distraught. As Mercutio, Benvolio, and Romeo leave the party, Romeo sneaks over to the hedge to speak to Juliet, who is on her balcony. This is where the famous line comes from, "Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo?" Romeo rushes to see Friar Lawrence, who, a little surprised to hear he loves Juliet when 2 minutes ago he loved Rosaline, agrees to marry them in secret. Friar Lawrence sees the possibility of ending the feud between the Capulets and the Montagues. The following day, Romeo and Juliet are married. Only the friar and Juliet's nurse know about it. The next day, Romeo, Benvolio, and Mercutio bump into Tybalt, Juliet's cousin, who is still angry that they gatecrashed the feast and challenges Romeo to a duel. Remember, Romeo is now a Capulet by marriage, so doesn't want to fight a Capulet, but the others don't understand why. Annoyed, Mercutio says that he will fight Tybalt himself. The two begin the duel. Romeo tries to stop them, but Tybalt stabs Mercutio and he dies. This gets Romeo really angry, and he kills Tybalt. Romeo panics and runs away as he has just killed a man. Soon after, Prince Aeschylus says Romeo is forever banished from Verona for his crime. Friar Lawrence arranges for Romeo to spend the night with Juliet before he has to leave for Mantua the following morning. Whilst Juliet waits for Romeo, the nurse tells her that Romeo has killed Tybalt. She is distraught that he has killed a Capulet, but calms down and realizes that Romeo is her love. Ah. After his night with Juliet, Romeo leaves Verona. Juliet's father is now keen for Juliet to marry Paris and arranges the wedding for 3 days' time. Juliet can't tell her family that she is already married. Her nurse tells her just to pretend Romeo is dead and marry Paris. Juliet is not happy about this and goes to see Friar Lawrence. What should I do? When Juliet sees Friar Lawrence, he has a cunning plan. Juliet can drink a potion that makes her look dead. Then the friar and Romeo will collect her, and Romeo and Juliet can run away together and be happy. Interesting plan. The night before the wedding to Paris, Juliet drinks the pretend to be dead potion. The nurse and her family find her. They are very sad, and she is taken to the family crypt. Something goes wrong with the cunning plan message getting to Romeo from Friar Lawrence, so he only hears that Juliet is actually dead. He arrives back distraught and decides to drink some poison to kill himself, as he thinks life is not worth living without Juliet. When he arrives at the tomb, he sees Paris scattering flowers and in a rage kills him. Duh, duh, duh. Romeo now takes the poison and lays dead next to Juliet. Not long after, Juliet awakes from her sleep and is distraught to find Romeo dead next to her. The friar arrives too late and tells Juliet what has happened. She is so distraught that she stabs herself with Romeo's dagger and dies next to him. Finally, Friar Lawrence comes back to the tomb after bringing back the prince, the Capulets, and Romeo's father. The deaths of their children make the families realize that they need to make peace, and they put up a monument in their memory. This is a very famous story, which has been repeated many times over, where two groups of people or gangs don't like each other, but within that gang, one person likes somebody from the other gang and they get together. Fortunately, in many of the stories, it doesn't end with the two main people killing themselves, but in this story, that's what happens, which is why it's known as a tragedy. Thank you for listening.